Bullseye Movies welcomes you to this recap on this episode on Fallout. Before that confrontation arrives, however, the episode wisely allows room for levity, character development, and world building. In many ways, this balance is one of Season 2's greatest strengths. The story understands that relentless dread loses its power without contrast, and so it gives Lucy and the ghoul space to breathe, even to enjoy themselves, before the inevitable clash with death incarnate. Lucy's arc this week is particularly intriguing. After surviving her traumatic encounter with the Legion, she has been taken in and cared for by the New California Republic. Her physical recovery is aided by a steady stream of Buff Out, one of the Fallout universe's most infamous performance-enhancing drugs. On paper, 2 days hooked up to S4 of combat steroids might sound like a miracle cure. In practice, it comes with consequences that any long-time Fallout player immediately recognizes. Buff Out is powerful, effective, and dangerously addictive, a mechanic that has tripped up countless players over the years. The show leans into this shared experience with playful self-awareness. Lucy emerges from her recovery noticeably changed. She's looser, more impulsive, and far more comfortable with violence than she was before. It's not that she's become reckless or cruel, rather, her moral rigidity has softened. The line between her worldview and the ghouls has blurred just enough for their circles to overlap. Importantly, this shift isn't portrayed as entirely her choice. It's chemically induced, imposed upon her body rather than embraced by her conscience. That distinction matters. Lucy isn't suddenly transformed into a hardened wasteland killer by ideology or intent. She's altered by circumstance, survival, and substances beyond her control. The show uses this to explore how the wasteland doesn't just challenge beliefs, it actively reshapes people, sometimes without their consent. When Lucy cheerfully remarks that she's good for heads and dismisses her targets as just ghouls, it lands with unsettling humor. But once again, Fallout refuses to keep things simple. These aren't generic enemies. They are remnants of a once vibrant faction deeply rooted in the series' history. The appearance of the Kings is a delightful and tragic callback to Fallout, New Vegas. Originally a gang of Elvis-obsessed humans who adopted the King's image as a symbol of unity and rebellion, the Kings represented one of the game's more eccentric and endearing factions. But time has not been kind to them. Over a decade has passed since players last encountered the Kings, and the wasteland has done what it always does. It has stripped away humanity. In Season 2, the Kings have degenerated into feral ghouls. This creative decision accomplishes several things at once. It visually communicates the passage of time without exposition. It reinforces the idea that no faction, no matter how iconic, is immune to decay. And it provides a grimly poetic form of closure for a group that once celebrated identity and culture, now reduced to mindless hunger. Narratively, this transformation also serves a practical purpose. By turning the Kings into feral ghouls, the show avoids the moral ambiguity of Lucy killing sentient humans while still allowing for a high-octane action sequence. The resulting fight is easily one of the most visually impressive of the season so far. The choreography is sharp and kinetic. Editing choices emphasize rhythm and impact, with bodies twisting and collapsing as bullets tear through decayed flesh. There's a visceral satisfaction in the way the action unfolds, heightened by small but deliberate details, the way wounds explode, the way momentum carries corpses across the frame. And then there's the slow-motion finishing shot, an unmistakable homage to the VATS targeting system from the games. It's a moment of pure fan service, but executed with enough style and restraint that it feels earned rather than indulgent. It's no surprise that this image featured prominently in the season's teaser material. It encapsulates what the show does best, translating game mechanics into cinematic language without losing their spirit. Amid all this chaos, the relationship between Lucy and the ghoul continues to evolve in subtle, compelling ways. Following the ghoul's cryptic, "Don't thank me yet" remark in the previous episode, there's an expectation that his motives might be more complicated than they appear. So far, however, the show resists the urge to rush into betrayal or revelation. Instead, it allows their partnership to remain slightly off balance, held together by mutual benefit and tentative trust. The ghoul doesn't seem to be manipulating Lucy, at least not overtly. If anything, he appears genuinely pleased by her presence, amused by her transformation, and perhaps even comforted by the companionship. This choice on the writer's part is refreshing. By maintaining an undercurrent of unease without immediately pulling the rug out from under the audience, the story builds tension gradually. The uncertainty feels organic, not manufactured. That slow burn is essential to the show's pacing. Rather than relying on constant twists, Fallout Season 2 allows its characters and themes to simmer. It trusts the audience to sit with discomfort, to question motivations, and to anticipate consequences. The looming presence of the Deathclaw only amplifies this effect. Every moment of humor, camaraderie, or triumph is tinged with the knowledge that something unstoppable is coming. By the time Lucy and the Ghoul finally stand before the Deathclaw on the New Vegas Strip, the confrontation feels inevitable rather than sudden. The episode has carefully laid the groundwork, both narratively and emotionally. We've seen what this creature can do. We've watched armies fail against it. And now, two survivors, one barely acclimated to violence, the other worn down by centuries of brutality, must face it with nothing but grit and desperation. In doing so, the series doesn't just deliver spectacle. It reinforces one of Fallout's central truths, that humanity's greatest monsters are often of its own making, and that the consequences of pre-war hubris continue to haunt the world long after the bombs have fallen.